Hello, my thrifty art nerds. Welcome back to the Thrifty Apprentice Studio for another episode of the Thrifty Review. Today, we are going to be taking a look at Winsor & Newton Cotman 14 half pan travel set, or sketch box if that's what you would like to refer to it as. Winsor & Newton Cotman is one of 3 lines of watercolor paints produced by the Winsor & Newton brand alongside their Reeves and Winsor & Newton professional lines. You guys will have to forgive me because I no longer have the box that the sketch palette came in because I have been using it. But it is the typical blue and gray packaging that you are used to seeing all of the Winsor & Newton branded products being sold in. The box did come with a color brochure guide, which we will get to in just a moment. The sketch box itself is made of a pretty heavyweight and durable, what seems to be semi-glossy plastic material. It is in a foldable sketch box shape. And it does have the Winsor & Newton branded logo on the top of the box in gold. Taking a look inside the box, you have your 14 half pans of color. There is included a number 5 travel short-handled Cotman number 3 travel brush by Winsor & Newton. This is a pretty durable brush which I have used and do continue to use because it works really and performs really well. The sketch box itself has 5 miniature mixing wells in the top lid. There is an insert which you can take out and clip on the side for an additional well. And the bottom of the sketch box slides out to reveal a thumb hold for using the palette on the go, as well as 4 additional mixing wells, as you can see here, and the bottom sliding tray of the palette, which does slide in and out pretty easily. The half pans in each box are removable. There are 2 half pans to each little section. And the half pans do include the color name, as well as what I think is the stock number on the side, which is a really good thing. That's also a really great idea for any artist who allows their tube paints to dry down into half pans. Grab you a Sharpie or any permanent marker that you have and jot the color name, as well as the light, fast, and pigment information for the color that you put in there on the side of the half pan to make it easier for refilling and reordering purposes. So that is an initial look at the sketch box. Right off, it looks better than most of the generic travel sets and sketch boxes that you see out there on the market today. Let's go ahead and take a look at the brochure that was included in the box. This brochure does include a color swatch chart. To the right of that swatch chart is a key code which tells you the light, fast information for each color, letting you know that any colors marked with A are permanent and any colors marked with AA are extremely permanent. Now, in this 14 palette set, I do believe that 4 of the colors are extremely permanent and the other 10 are permanent. We will take a closer look at that in a second. The back of this brochure includes descriptions for the paint in a couple of different languages, letting you know that this is a high quality yet economical watercolor, delivering good transparency, excellent tinting strength, and optimum working properties. A balanced spectrum of 40 colors made from carefully selected pigments. Available in half pans, 8 milliliter and 21 milliliter tubes, and at a comprehensive range of sets, So that is their description of the paints. So finally, let's grab my own swatch sheet that I did. so we can take a closer look at how the paints actually look in person. As you can see, this 14-piece set does come with lemon yellow, which is PY 175, cad yellow, which is PY 97, and PY 65 mixed, cad red pale hue, which is PY 65 and PR 255, cad red hue, PR 149 and PR 255, alizarin, which is PR 206, and that is a hue, let's be clear, Purple Lake, PV 19, Cerulean Blue, PB 15, Ultramarine, PB 29, Sap Green, which is a 3-pigment mixture of PY 139, PR 101, and PG 36, Viridian Hue, which is PG 7, Yellow Ochre, which is PY 42, Burnt Sienna, which is PBR 7 and PY 42 mixed, Burnt Umber, which is PR 101, and Chinese White, rounding it off at PW 5. Now, the Yellow Ochre, Burnt Sienna, Burnt Umber, and Chinese White are the 4 that have the extremely permanent light fast rating, while the other 10 contain permanent light fast ratings. So, these paints are very bright and vibrant. I love the fact that they do not dry down and lose too much of their luster. They are not dull or chalky. They are transparent and not very not too opaque at all. I have enjoyed using these paints a lot. They layer really well. They offer great glazing abilities, which is the same as layering, to create the depth and shadowing. And you can actually mix some really nice colors from these. So let's go ahead and take a look at the mixing capabilities of them. Then we will jump into a really quick speed painting demo. Afterwards, we'll come back and actually compare the Winsor & Newton Cotman line to the Reeves line that we've already reviewed on this channel, which we know is also produced by Winsor & Newton. So let me just grab my little pre-made color mixing card here, and I typically try to mix 3 colors when they're not included in a set. And for this to be Cotman, I am actually surprised because I thought that there may be a better choice of a violet in here. I thought that there may be more of a more cooler red than just the cad red hue. The sap green is actually okay. I like it. The ultramarine, in all honesty, I've seen better versions in other sets that I've tried. I'm okay with the burnt sienna, and I think that the Chinese white is actually pretty useless in the set unless you're planning on mixing it with the other colors to give them sort of a gouache feel or effect. So let's mix an orange, a violet, and a gray. Gray was not included in this set, which is another color that I think should predominantly come in a beginner set or maybe a sketch box set. So I'm just gonna wet my brush here, and we're gonna grab the paints and get them open. I think that is a really nice and vibrant orange. Those colors mixed pretty well and cleanly. Again, a very clean mixture, a very bright and beautiful violet color, which is completely different from the one that actually came in the set and which I actually prefer. I would say that's a pretty decent gray. I will say that's a pretty decent gray. Although I have to be honest, as I said earlier, I'm not really super crazy about the way the ultramarine shade is. But as you guys can see, can you see that? Can you see the granulation in that paint? I think that that's really nice for this to be such an affordable, economical student grade of paint. Although it is a little bit higher on the price point scale than anything else we've reviewed on this channel so far. And as you can see, guys, it doesn't really disperse a lot at all. This is one of the most controllable paints I've ever worked with. I think that that is a great quality for a beginner or someone who is even experienced, who doesn't really like paints that disperse and bleed a lot time they hit water. Is going to offer more control over your composition if you're one of those artists who likes that. So I sourced my Winsor & Newton Cotman Sketchbox kit from Michaels. And of course, you can also get it at Michaels.com. Michaels tends to be my go-to store simply because it is one of the big box art stores in my area, other than Hobby Lobby and Joann's Craft. So I picked these up at my local Michaels. They are priced $42 for this 14-pan travel set. I was able to utilize a 40% off coupon, which is normally available on Michaels.com or on the app, and they do run that on a pretty regular basis, other than the other coupons they run. So at 40% off, priced at $42, that made this 14 half-pan travel set $25.20. Now, if you average that out, just speaking of the paints, that breaks down to about $1.80 a half pan, which is not bad at all. I definitely think that when you are buying the higher end student sets and the professional grade of paints, that it is better to buy them in the sets because you get more bang for your buck that way. So other than Michaels, you can also find this exact palette at Jerry's Autorama, which I've watched over the last couple of months be averagely priced around $22.19. Walmart.com, not the stores, but Walmart.com online carries this set for $23.39. And Amazon has this particular set for $23.39, which honestly, I think that Amazon is probably going to be the better buy, the best place to get them. And the reason that I say that is if you order them from Jerry's Autorama, you're going to be paying shipping and handling unless you know you're making a substantial purchase or you're meeting the requirements for their free shipping. Same thing with Walmart. But of course, with Amazon, if you're a Prime member, which most of us are, or most Amazon shoppers have become Prime members, you will get this with no shipping and handling for $23.39, and you receive it to your front door within 2 to 3 business days versus 5 to 7 to 10 business days with most places standard shipping. The breakdown of the $1.80, even if you get them from Michaels, is still better than buying them open stock. Now, the only place I was able to find the half pans for the Cotman line open stock that's accessible to me was Amazon.com, where they averaged about $4.50 to $5.50 a half pan. So it is definitely more economical to buy them in the set if you're going to buy them from any place, especially Amazon. We are going to get into the speed painting portion, which will be the demo for these paints. Just want to give you guys the opportunity to see how they perform for yourselves, and then we will jump right back in order to compare them to other Winsor & Newton lines that we have already reviewed before we wrap things up. So here we are with our finished composition, and I have to tell you guys that that was quite a task. And it wasn't because of the paints, it was because of the paper that I was using. But ultimately, we do have a finished painting here. Let's just get right down to it. These paints from the performance work much better to me when they're used in a thicker application where the water to paint ratio is less water and more paint. I do not particularly care for them much in a wet on wet, really watered down environment. You have to do too much work to get it to do what you want it to do. If you guys noticed doing the speed painting, I did end up going back in and doing a second layer for the sky where I just kind of did some negative painting around the clouds to try to make them stand out more. The salt that I added to the beach front actually worked out pretty well. That technique did give me some really sandy looking effects. The palm trees were good. They turned out well. I was able to, again, as long as the paint was in a thicker application, it really lent to being controlled well and offering the ability to create really fine detail. And I was using a number 4 brush to paint that part of the picture. So overall, you know, the performance wasn't too bad. It definitely had its pros and its cons. So now let's just take a look at the swatch sheet for the Cotman in comparison to the other Winsor & Newton brand that we've already reviewed, which is the Reeves watercolor. Real quick, these little albums here, I love them. I still have this one in the little plastic holder, but this is Craftsmart. Craftsmart makes really great products, in my opinion, and you get that at Michael's, of course. And these were on sale for like $1.69 for like 30 pages. It's absolutely insane. I bought more than I care to tell you. So let's just take a look real quick at the Reeves, and then we'll come back and compare them to some other ones. So see if you guys can see. This is the Reeves here, and this is our Winsor & Newton Cotman. As you can see, of course, the Reeves set for much less money came with more colors in the set. It did have more true violet purple in it. It did include a Payne's gray. The Reeves do have a bit more of a chalky texture looking at them than the Cotman does. So the Cotman definitely wins in that department. I think the Cotman paints are a little bit more vibrant than the Reeves are. So the Cotman wins in that department. Performance-wise, though, I think the Reeves disperse in water better. And lead to bleeding and blooming more, especially if you're trying to use those techniques on purpose, than the Cotman does. So the Reeves wins in that department. I actually like the phthalo blue shade in the Reeves set better than I like the ultramarine blue shade in the Cotman set. And actually the ultramarine blue shade in the Reeves set, to me, is better. So in that department, as far as the colors that I tend to lean to more, like sap green, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, I tend to like Payne's gray and a premixed violet. This one had, to me, a more cool, true cool red primary, bring the brilliant red, and the Cotman didn't. So in that department, the Reeves would definitely win. Now the Cotman has more of a professional granulation to it that you tend to see with more professional paints, so much more than the Reeves does. So the Cotman wins that department. So when it boils down to it, between the two, it really boils down to the money, because they're both student grade. Neither one of them are professional. One of them definitely has more fillers than the other, but for the money, the Reeves is cheaper per tube. You get more colors. Some of the primaries seem to be they're more true primaries in the Reeves, should I say. So you could probably mix a wider variety, excuse me, I can't talk again, of colors from the Reeves set than you could from the Sketchbox set of the Cotman. Now, that's not to say that if you were to have a bigger palette, who knows, but this is the palette that I have and that I'm reviewing, so this is what we're comparing here. Now, considering the fact that this is a student grade and this is also a student grade, but more of a budget student grade, and this is a more academy student grade, bang for the buck, I think the Reeves is the better buy. Between the two, I would probably purchase Reeves before the Cotman. However, I would definitely recommend the Cotman. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful student grade of paint. I think it performs really well. It lends to being controlled and manipulated. It's great in thick applications. It's transparent. It has a granulation to it. And it holds most of the luster, not all of the vibrancy from when it's wet, but most of it once it dries. So yes, I would definitely recommend it for people starting out. You're looking for a great paint that's better than a budget end of paint, that's not quite as expensive as a professional brand. I would definitely recommend Cotman's. I am actually a Winsor & Newton fan at this point. I like both the Reeves and the Cotmans. Real quick, let's just look at these in comparison to the other ones we've reviewed. This is the Royal and Langnickel 12 tube set that you can pick up at most of your art stores. In between the two, I think the Cotman definitely wins. These are definitely a lot more opaque and chalky. This is Daleroni Simply, which you can source from Walmart and a lot of other stores. These are probably the paints that are at the bottom of the list for me as far as everything that we've reviewed on the channel so far. Full of fillers. Cotman definitely wins. Artist Loft, on the other hand, okay, you can definitely tell that they're chalky against the Cotman, but the colors are still really vibrant from the Artist Loft set. It's still a set that I would kind of recommend as a budget-friendly beginner set if you just can't really afford anything or get to anything else. I don't think it's really a bad investment, but I would still go to Royal and Langnickel first. We did the Reeves already. This was the Master's Touch, which is Hobby Lobby's house brand. Again, I think the Cotman beats out chalkiness. You can see the difference once you actually look at the Cotman up against the ones that we've already reviewed. Although they didn't seem so much so when we were reviewing them, you can see the difference in the texture of the paints and the chalkiness that's presented in the more budget-friendly paints. Master's Touch, definitely Cotman wins against that one. And then we've also reviewed Fine Touch, which is pretty much down there on my list with the Daleroni, so Cotman would definitely win against that one. So of everything that we reviewed on the channel so far, the only two that I feel like would hold a candle to the Cotman at this moment would be maybe the Reeves, and maybe that's because they may be formulated similarly. I don't know. Reeves having more fillers in it to stretch the pigment than Cotman. So yeah, guys, hopefully the information that I've presented to you in this video was helpful. I understand that it's been a long video, but I really wanted to give a really in-depth review of this particular paint and make a recommendation that I believe if you guys are really looking for a really nice paint, a wonderful gifting paint, a wonderful paint to have in your own collection that you can turn to for control, I would definitely recommend the Winsor & Newton Cotman line, and it's going to be a part of my collection as one of my go-tos that I do use from time to time, along with some other brands that I really like, including the Reeves. If you like the information in this video and found it helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe so that you can keep up with all of the great content uploaded to the channel for the different series. Remember that sharing is caring, and the comment section is always open for discussion. Head on over to Facebook, The Thrifty Apprentice, like us there, where you can keep up with the things we do on and off camera. And we have also finally launched an Instagram page, which you can visit, The Thrifty Apprentice on Instagram, where you'll be able to make purchases of the watercolor cards to support the channel. And yeah, I had a ball, guys. With this said, I hope you guys have a very great night, and we will see you another time for another thrifty review.